From the judges failing to recognize the potential of a brilliant entrepreneur to an aspiring duo trying to raise funds for a movie with no script, here are the most contentious Shark Tank pitches in history. Starting with the billion-dollar company rejected by the Sharks. Picture this. It's 2013, and Jamie Siminoff is just a guy with a big dream. He's created the world's first ever Wi-Fi video doorbell, a product that he thinks will revolutionize home security for ages to come. What's more, he's done it all from his garage. But while Jamie was able to create the product he wanted, things weren't as smooth as he'd hoped they would be. The young entrepreneur was having trouble finding investors who could turn his vision into a business. So Jamie decided to do what any other entrepreneur looking for funding would. He went on Shark Tank. Now, you might think that a cutting-edge home security product would be a no-brainer for the Sharks. But Jamie's $700,000 ask in exchange for 10% of equity was rejected by all of them. Mark Cuban said that Jamie's business won't be able to give him the kind of returns he'd want for investing this much money. Ouch, that's gotta hurt, right? So, of course, Jamie was completely dejected and heartbroken after all of this. But little did he know that his brief appearance on the show would give his business all the exposure it needed. With his grit and passion, Jamie was able to get the attention of British entrepreneur Richard Branson. And the rest was history. Branson invested in the business, and after years of hard work and rebranding, The Ring was born. His business went on to become a billion-dollar franchise. Jamie even earned himself a spot on Shark Tank as a guest judge. Talk about things coming full circle. I bet the Sharks really regret passing on this one. The same can't be said for Steve Gadlin's I Want to Draw a Cat for You. Now, you have to admit, this might have been the most unexpected pitch in Shark Tank history. But that's exactly why it went on to become a viral sensation. In his own words, Steve Gadlin is the mastermind behind the economy of stupid. What does that mean? Basically, Steve's business gave people custom-made, sometimes crude, stick figures of cats for $9.95 a pop. And of course, that might sound like a lot, considering how the whole thing kind of feels like you're buying something from a back-alley sketchy dealer. But Mark Cuban just couldn't resist his love for cats, and ended up investing $25,000 for a 33% share of the company. I mean, Gadlin's pitch was great, and he definitely impressed the audience with his humor and wit. But his business idea was just a little unusual, if you ask me. It did come a long way, though. In fact, Mark even went on to make his own drawings for the business, with all of them being priced at $1,000 each. But it looks like that was more for publicity than anything else, because rumor has it that Cuban never quite made any profit from this investment. And if that wasn't enough, he was also called out by Forbes magazine for investing in a business that sold what they referred to as really amateur notepad doodles for thousands of dollars. Maybe all of this negative publicity is why Steve decided to shut his business down a few years ago, after he had sold a total of 18,749 cat drawings. But don't be fooled, because he returned to the game soon after, limiting himself to just one drawing per day, with each going for about $30. And while the business has sold over 400 drawings after its reopening, Mark just decided to stay quiet about the whole thing. I guess he's realized that raising cat drawing prices by over 300% is not a really good business move. But it's not as bad as faking numbers for some funding, because that's exactly what the founders of Red Dress Boutique were accused of doing. So, what went down? Diana and Josh Harbor were the power couple behind the business, with a mission to make women feel like $1 million, without having to spend that kind of cash. Their secret sauce? Updating their collections every single day, and pricing 80% of their merchandise under $50. With Diana's genius addition of automatic accessory suggestion and personalized thank you notes, that really sealed the deal. Now, as you can guess, the judges were blown away by the whole thing. Their only concern was whether Josh and Diana were making enough money. Spoiler alert, they were. With an average purchase amount of $75 per customer, the Harbors were killing it with sales worth $7.5 million in only their 4th year. Of course, these numbers made the judges wonder whether the two were lying to score a deal. But let's just say that every single thing the entrepreneurs claimed checked out. The two had actually quit their day jobs and dedicated all their time to growing the Red Dress Boutique. And all their hard work was paying off. But that was still not enough to convince all the sharks, with Kevin expressing concerns about the business being cloned. Lori and Damon, on the other hand, felt like they weren't the right fit for such a young company. Then there was Mark, who wanted to know exactly what the Harbors planned on doing with their funding. Diana revealed that out of their ask for $600,000, $300,000 would go towards building a new website, and the rest would help them reach 9-figure sales. Robert pounced on the opportunity, but the Harbors held their ground for the best equity percentage deal, until Mark and Robert offered them a joint deal of $1.2 million for 20% of their company. Fast forward to 2023, and the Red Dress Boutique is doing as well as ever. In fact, the Harbors have even bought back their equity from Mark, which just goes to show how successful they've gone on to become. Sadly, though, not all entrepreneurs are met with the same fate. I mean, can we talk about Manesh Sethi and his company Pavlok? When Sethi entered the tank, he probably wasn't expecting his pitch to end with Kevin telling him to get the out. But that's exactly what happened. Let's be honest, everyone knew this pitch was doomed to fail right from the start, with an ask of $500,000 in exchange for a measly 3.14% of equity. And what did Pavlok actually do? Well, the business made wristbands that would give wearers electric shocks whenever they would do something bad, inspired by Pavlovian research. But when Mark asked him if his product was backed by any kind of actual research, Sethi could only point to a small, unaired, and quite honestly, an irrelevant pilot program that wasn't all conclusive. So of course, the sharks were not having it. Things quickly spiraled out of control, and the pitch turned into a full-blown argument between Cuban and the entrepreneur. Fans saw a glimmer of hope when Kevin made Sethi an offer. But what no one saw coming was the moment when Manesh rejected Mr. Wonderful's offer, saying that he would work with anyone except himself, clarifying that his aversion to Kevin was totally personal. Yikes, now that takes guts. Any guesses on what happened next? The Sharks were pretty much done with the guy and weren't even willing to talk to him after that point. Maybe Sethi should try using his wristband to help kick the habit of rubbing people the wrong way. But even Pavlov doesn't come close to the time a bunch of stuntmen tried raising money for a motorcycle thriller. Yes, you heard that right. James LaVitola is a Hollywood stuntman, and Brian Pitt is a seasoned producer of indie flicks. Together, the two entered the Shark Tank to pitch Track Days, a high-octane action movie all about motorcycle racing, hoping to secure a deal of $5 million for a 30% equity stake in the profits of their thrilling cinematic adventure. As weird as it was, the judges were open to the idea, until they saw the trailer. After LaVitola set the stage, pitching the film as the next big blockbuster, he played the teaser, which promised the story of one man racing to save his family. But the garish animation was too much for anyone to handle. While Mark bowed out pretty fast, Kevin and Robert kept asking for more details on the script, the actors, and the producer. But, surprise, surprise, James and Brian had nothing to say. They did have a rough idea of the story, but the movie had no script, no actors, and not even a producer. But I have to give it to these two. Their dedication was real. They kept insisting that their innovative approach to film financing was the way of the future. Of course, the judges were not having it. And while they appreciated the duo for their unwavering faith in their venture, it still wasn't enough for them to dish out any funding. And if you're wondering what became of James and Brian, they did launch a Kickstarter campaign, hoping to capitalize on their exposure from the show. And I have to say, their idea worked. And people were pretty interested in seeing what these two had to offer. But the interest just wasn't enough. After raising only a little over $11,000, it looks like James and Brian had to give up on trying to make it big in Hollywood. But judging by their trailer, that might not have been such a bad thing after all. So, from an aspirational duo trying to make a movie with no script, to a business that went on to make billions of dollars after being rejected by the sharks, these were the most controversial pitches in the history of Shark Tank.